Bonjour et bienvenue à tous. Merci de vous rejoindre à nous aujourd'hui. Je suis ravi d'être ici avec vous ce matin pour cette merveilleuse annonce. Je m'appelle Mark Weinstein, je suis le vice-principal de l'avancement universitaire de l'Université McGill. Tout d'abord, j'aimerais souhaiter le bienvenu aujourd'hui à tous et à nos invités spéciaux dont certains vont nous parler dans un instant. Représentante de la Ville de Montréal, bienvenue à Kayla Amia Monroe, conseillère d'arrondissement de Verdun et la présidente de la Commission de développement économique, urbain et habitation. I'd also like to welcome members of the McGill Library community and those from McGill's architecture community here with us today. A warm welcome to members of the Safdie architects team joining us, and a big thank you to Chris Mulvey, managing partner with the firm, who was unfortunately unable to join us today. As well, a special thank you to Fondation Habitat 67 for their partnership. On aimerait remercier en particulier Pierre Papillière, représentant du commanditaire complexe d'habitation 67, Frank Motter, président de la Fondation Habitat 67, et John Ray pour leur appui et collaboration. A big virtual greeting as well to all our alumni and friends joining us on YouTube today as this event is being live streamed. And finally, I'd like to welcome our guest of honor, esteemed architect, visionary, urban planner, educator, and author, Moshe Safdie. One of our most distinguished graduates has returned to be with us today to celebrate a landmark moment with members of the McGill community. And I'm particularly pleased to see so many friends, students, and alumni here to join us. C'est un jour exceptionnel malgré l'appui d'aujourd'hui dans l'histoire de McGill. Et c'est un moment que j'attends depuis longtemps. Pour en venir à la raison pour laquelle nous sommes tous ici aujourd'hui, j'invite la principale Suzanne Fortier à se présenter pour l'annonce. Suzanne Fortier dirige l'université depuis près de 10 ans. Elle terminera son mandat à la fin du mois. Ce fut un privilège et un grand plaisir pour moi de travailler à ses côtés. Veuillez accueillir la professeure Suzanne Fortier.
Bonjour à vous tous, welcome, bienvenue. Quel plaisir de vous avoir avec nous pour cette occasion unique pour notre université, mais aussi pour la ville de Montréal. Distingués invités, chers amis, chers collègues, merci d'être ici. I would like to especially extend a very, very warm welcome to our guest of honor, Mr. Moshe Safdie, and to his family. It's such a joy for us to have you with us back home and to bring your whole family with you. Monsieur Safdie graduated from McGill with a Bachelor of Science in Architecture in 1961. And since then, as my colleague said, an architect, an urban planner, an educator, and an author, he has brought his remarkable vision through so many projects and accomplishments. As you would expect, he's the recipient of numerous awards. I won't be able to list them all, but I'll mention that he has both the Order of Canada et l'Ordre du Québec, the gold medal from the Royal Architecture Institute of Canada, the American Institute of Architects, the Wolf Prize in Architecture, and many, many more, and probably many more to come. His first major building was Habitat 67, and it was built right here, of course, in Montreal for Expo 67. Some of us were around in those days, and I must say that you really brought to us a vision of the world that we could relate to, a vision of something that was more modern and more inclusive. We talk about inclusivity today all the time. But back in your days at McGill as a student, you already were able to embed that concept into your work. We in Canada are, of course, very fortunate to be able to go to many, many beautiful wonderful buildings that were the work of Mr. Safdie. Of course, the National Gallery of Canada, the Musée de la Civilisation à Québec, the Jean-Noël Desmarais Pavillon right here on Sherbrooke Street at the Musée des Beaux-Arts. But of course, if we have the privilege of also traveling around the world, we'll see many, many more. In particular, I'd mentioned the Yad Vashem Holocaust History Museum in Jerusalem, the United States Institute of Peace, the National Mall in Washington, D.C., and the Singapore's Marina Bay Sands Resort and Jewel Changi Airport. These are just very inspiring buildings. It is a great, great pleasure for me to announce today that Mr. Moshe Safdie is donating his professional archives to his alma mater, McGill University. And one of the centerpiece, if not the centerpiece, of this collection is his own apartment at Habitat 67. He gave me the key last night. If any of you want a tour, we can arrange it. Of course, part of the collection that really is precious to me is his thesis as an undergraduate student. It's called A Case for City Living. And it was the work that led to Habitat 67. The archive documents give us a look at his outstanding career from his first unpublished university papers and projects to more than 50 years of architectural practice. And so this is truly a historic moment for us here at McGill, but also for us in Montreal and in Canada, that we can have this wonderful, inspiring collections with us here in our community. You know, I got up this morning and I took a peek at Le Devoir. It's a French newspaper in Montreal, and I saw that the front page was a picture of Moshe Safdie at the archives here with the title, Un starchitecte. I didn't know this word, Moshe, so you've introduced a new word in my vocabulary, starchitecte. But I think it's a good word, although, you know, sometimes in Quebec they're fussy about mixing French and English, but they did there for a good reason, because like the stars or les étoiles, I think your work really inspires us to set our sights very high. And I know that it will inspire our students today, but our students for many generations to come, and all of us who are human living in this planet, to set our sights as to what we can aspire as good place for people to live in. So, merci énormément. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. This is a really wonderful moment for us all here. And I want to thank yourself and your family for your generosity and your dedication to McGill and to the students. And I'd like to invite you now to say a few words. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you for your warm words, and this is a very moving day for me. Culmination of a lot of hard work by Mark, by Chris from my office, by many of you, by the Habitat Foundation. Archives of architecture. You wonder, what is the value of the archives in architecture? Architecture is about buildings, and buildings are what we experience. But archives are about the instruments of making architecture. Sketches, models, correspondence, press clippings, good and bad. And for those who want to study the process of architecture, archives are significant, the making of architecture. And so, of course, one wants to have a place that will cherish and make them available to the public. But for me, what is deeply moving is that it is happening here at McGill in Quebec, in Canada. And of course, as I considered where I should leave my life's work, there were other options and a few other takers. I was asked by Le Devoir, why not Harvard, why not Israel, all of which came up in discussion. But in the final analysis, I feel that I got from McGill an extraordinary education. It has served me well, the values, the basic principles that we were immersed with in the School of Architecture here as something that really shaped my life as an architect. And also, as you look at it in retrospect, Quebec and Canada have been extraordinarily supportive of my work as an architect. Beginning with Habitat, think about it, 25-year-old recently arrived immigrant. I still spoke with an accent I could see on the CBC interviews when I look at them. Never built a building in his life, proposes Way Out project, gets supported by civil servants at Expo, is taken to Ottawa to present it to the National Cabinet with Lester Pearson chairing the meeting. And at the end of the presentation, they said, well, we can't build the whole thing, all of Cité du Havre. We don't even have enough time, but there's $15 million, do what you can. Would it happen today? That's an interesting question. The kind of support and confidence that then persisted through my work in later years, the National Gallery and many of the institutions of Canada, are really pivotal to my life as an architect. And so I saw it fitting that it should be here in Montreal and in Canada. I feel very indebted to all those who worked hard to make this happen. And it makes me very happy, particularly that the apartment in Habitat, where at least two of my children grew up, becomes part of this the public realm, I would call it, where people, the public and students can visit, where McGill can have its events, and having it part of the archive makes it so much more alive. So thank you very much for the confidence and for the support, and very moving moment for which I'm happy at this point in my life, and I promise to work very hard to be sending you more stuff before it's all over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Principal Fortier, and thank you so much, Moshe, for those inspiring words and for giving us a chance to build a living lab that will perpetuate for many, many years to come and keep on giving us the work. We'll be delighted to receive and catalog and do what we have to do with it, both here and, of course, in the apartment. So, again, many, many thanks, Moshe, to you, your family, Michal, for giving us the confidence and the inspiration to think out of the box and to think big. I'd like to now invite Colleen Cook, Trenholm Dean of Libraries at McGill University, to say a few words. The floor is yours, Dean Cook.
Thank you all. Good morning and bienvenue. Libraries and archives are physical representations of the life of the mind, and I've been fortunate enough to work nearly 50 years in them. We're the keepers of humankind's accumulated wisdom and humankind's stories. The story of Moshe Safdie's professional practice and student works can be found in his archive. These vast holdings document a lifelong journey of discovery. They uncovered the creative process behind and the realization of some of the most culturally significant structures in the world. La Bibliothèque de McGill collabore avec Moshe Safdie et son équipe depuis plus de 25 ans pour assurer la gestion de ces fonds. Thousands of architectural drawings, hundreds of sketchbooks, presentation boards, dozens of architectural models, some of it fragile, all of it in need of safeguarding. Those are the toys that we get to play with now. And for librarians, it's candy. Now this incredible body of work has made its way home to where it all started, at McGill, building strength on strength. The Moshe Safdie Archive will complement the library's rich collections in architecture held in the John Bland Collection, Canadian Architecture Collection, making McGill one of the largest and most important resources for architectural and urban planning research in Canada, North America, and the world. The establishment of an endowment will help support the archive and includes the appointment of a designated archivist librarian who will curate, manage, and animate the archive while supporting core programming linked to the teaching, learning, and research of architectural practice at McGill. The endowment will also support efforts to enhance interaction with the collection through the development of virtual and physical outreach opportunities. Exhibits, special events, and digitization initiatives will allow researchers, students, and community members to explore and use the extensive archive. Moshe, there are new findings, new conversations, new stories to be revealed in every model. Every sketchbook, every document you have touched has its story, and it's stories that we all really learn from. Thank you for your commitment to sharing this breathtaking collection with scholars and students for generations to come, and providing we librarians, archivists, and curators with a lot of good stuff to play with for a very long time. And I now invite the director of the Peter Guoha-Fu School of Architecture, David Theodore, to the podium.
Bonjour. Habitat 67 famously started life as a student project at McGill. Architectural educators, I think, are always thrilled when discoveries made at school move beyond the ivory tower, which makes today's announcement all the more meaningful. One of our most feted graduates, Moshe Safdie, is donating his entire professional archive to McGill, including the transfer of his personal residence. This extraordinary generosity will have an impact on the Peter Guoha-Fu School of Architecture at McGill for years. Moshe Safdie was clearly formed in the cultural milieu of post-war McGill. His remarkable life's work manifests the deep values of our school, a commitment to good construction, to the importance of the site, and to the integrity of structure. His office is simply very good at imagining how to make buildings for the public, buildings that people work in, buildings that people live in, buildings that people play in. They make buildings unafraid to be emblems and to be symbols, to stand as icons. The ceremonial Great Hall and ramp at the National Gallery in Ottawa, or the urban room that is the Vancouver Public Library. These buildings emphasize the role of architecture in connecting government and civil society, people and society in general. So it's a privilege for the Safdie Archive at McGill to have as one of its key artifacts the Safdie apartment at Habitat 67. Of all the Expo 67 pavilions, it is the one that remains intact, standing as a functioning example of 1960s architectural utopianism. Stacked 120 feet high, the cantilevered concrete boxes cluster into very generous apartments, very generous. Each unit has a garden terrace and exceptional light and views, community and privacy exquisitely balanced. The building has an untapped potential for education and for discovery. Researchers and students can visit the archive and dive into the rich collection of sketchbooks and drawings and models and a bunch of stuff. But in addition, they will now have the chance to experience in person the reach and the promise of a magical, large-scale experimental building. So part of the initial proposal for Habitat 67 was to make a building that invigorated the entire city. It had housing, but it also had community facilities and a school. So it's significant that McGill's involvement in the future connects so strongly to the building's past. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dean Cook and Professor Theodore. J'aimerais maintenant inviter Mme Kayla Amia Monroe, conseillère d'arrondissement de Verdun et la présidente de la Commission de développement économique, urbain et habitation, à nous faire partager quelques mots. Merci.
Cher Monsieur Safdie, Madame la principale Fortier, Madame, Messieurs, bonjour. C'est un immense honneur de représenter la mairesse de Montréal et de rendre hommage au grand architecte, humaniste et visionnaire israélo-canadien qu'est M. Moshe Safdie. Créateur de génie, M. Safdie a imaginé, avec audace et créativité, Habitat 67, qui constitue à ce jour l'un des points de repère les plus importants et significatifs de notre ville. Cette œuvre participe directement à l'identité de notre ville, à son image et à son âme. La vision de Moshe Safdie, celle qui guide sa carrière depuis près de 60 ans, a magistralement passé le test du temps. D'ailleurs, les élus municipaux dont je fais partie réfléchissent toujours, quotidiennement, aux enjeux soulevés par M. Safdie dans le cadre de sa thèse. Chaque jour, nous nous demandons comment nous assurer que l'habitation combine à la fois une forte densité et les aménagements qu'on retrouve dans des développements de faible densité, tels des parcs, des espaces verts, un esprit de communauté et des espaces de vie à l'échelle humaine. À cela, il faut rappeler le côté avant-gardiste d'avoir axé le projet Habitat 67 sur l'expérience des piétons à travers différents chemins et la plaza, le tout sans voiture. I am very pleased that today we have the opportunity to recognize Mr. Safdie's immense talent and his contribution to the City of Montreal and to the world through his work. We are also grateful to him for sharing with the academic community his writings, his sketches, models, which demonstrate the scope of his process and vision. Of particular note, his brilliant thesis, A Case for City Living. 55 years after Montreal's World Fair, Mr. Safdie has shown us with Habitat 67 that he understood the shape of the future. His legacy will inspire generations to come to push the limits of creativity and strengthen the character of Montreal, a UNESCO City of Design. We thank you again, Mr. Safdie, and we are grateful for this exceptional gift that will allow future generations to discover the shape of things to come. Merci encore, Monsieur Safdie. Longue vie à vous et à votre œuvre.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Amia Monroe. C'est grandement apprécié. Thank you again to everyone for being here with us this morning on this very special occasion. Of course, our deep gratitude to Moshe for giving us the collection and the apartment. I think it's incredibly fitting that McGill is the home of this incredible legacy that will live on and on and on, and we will learn so much from it in the years to come. At this time, I'd request that our speakers today please make your way up to the front for a photo opportunity. And I invite the rest of our guests to please join us outside. Yes, there are tents and there's shelters for a coffee and croissant on the terrace. Je vous invite tous à profiter du café et des croissants à l'extérieur sur la terrasse. Merci beaucoup et bonne journée.